So remember in the last lecture we learned about the different types of groups. They're all different types of groups and we all belong to various groups. But how are those defined within society? For sociologists, we have ideas about how groups are formed and some of those characteristics. People inside groups subscribe to norms and standards. They have ways of acting, ways of dressing, ways of sharing their common interests. As you can imagine, belonging to a group means you have to adhere to the group's standards and norms. And this causes a lot of pressure on the individual to conform. It's developed based on a common interest, and some of those common interests can actually cause social change. Here's some pictures. Think about the women's lib movement in the 60s and 70s. Also, NAACP, or more recently Mothers Against Drunk Driving. All these groups got together based on common interests, common cause, and brought about social change. Group dynamics are the way that people interact when they are in groups. Sometimes people feel strongly connected to a certain group, and this is what's called group cohesion. This is a real strong sense of solidarity or loyalty to the particular group. And as we've been talking about, there's this in-group and out-group problem that can occur with really tight-knit groups. Another group dynamic that occurs with tight-knit groups with a lot of group cohesion is called groupthink. This is when there's this high degree of conformity between the members and everybody starts to buy into one single belief, even if that belief is wrong. Groups are able to exert pressure on their group members. Group conformity occurs because of positive and negative sanctions. Negative sanctions show disapproval or rejection. It can be something as simple as frowning to indicate disapproval, or kicking somebody out of the group for severe rejection. And similarly, positive sanctions can be subtle and like a smile for approval, or giving awards for acceptance. Collectively, all of these positive and negative sanctions exert influence over group members and shapes the attitudes and behaviors of all the members in the group. This social influence or peer pressure causes group members to conform. And there's different levels of conformity, so let's take a look at that. There are varying levels of conformity. So at the lowest level there's compliance, and this is where you just do what you have to do to get along. Just you being a student, you conform so that you can get a good grade or avoid punishment. The next level is identification, and this is where you belong to a group that you identify with. And you do things to maintain relationships within that group. You conform so that you can get along with the group. Think of belonging to a club or an organization, or a group of friends that you hang out with. Any group that you identify with is an action of conformity. The next level is internalization, and this is the strongest type of conformity. This is where the individual adopts the beliefs and actions of a group and takes them for their own. These are internalized beliefs. So think of belonging to a church. That's where you internalize that belief system. And sometimes that can be problematic. Think of an extreme case of terrorists. So you can see where conformity goes from mild to strong and even extreme. So conformity is not a simple thing, and we all conform in varying levels and in different ways.